Hello and welcome to Wine Time. The Like a Mother series. So this is my twin sister Jane, if you can't tell or see the resemblance, and we are here to celebrate the launch of my upcoming book, Like a Mother.
Can we just take a second? Like, you've written a book.
Yeah, like I've written a book. It's
That's
crazy.
so badass.
It's so wild.
Isn't it?
It is when you think about it. Like, I don't really stop and think about it, but you're right.
How many people would be like, oh, I'd love to write a book one day.
Yeah.
And then they never do. Like, you actually have.
Yeah, thanks, Jane.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So it is, you will be able to have it in your hot little hands the 8th of November.
Really?
The 8th of November. But what is even more exciting, Jane, is that we are having a party to celebrate. We're not having a party, we're having the party.
The party of the century.
The party of the century, and it is going to be December 2nd. So, exciting news, Jane.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually put the link to buy a ticket now in my bio.
Okay. I should put it in mine.
You should put it in yours. So it is available now.
I've got more followers than you, so.
Yes, probably. It would actually really help me out a lot if you did that. The link to buy tickets has been something only for those on my mailing list, but I've now officially opened it up to anyone and everyone to come, which makes me a little bit nervous because there is limited seating. So if you have been umming and ahhing or you're excited about it, jump on and buy your ticket now. Because within your ticket, you also get a hard copy of the book. I will literally give it to you, a hard copy of Like a Mother.
Could you sign it for me?
I can sign it. So I'll practice my signature, and I would love to sign a copy of it for you. And as well as the tickets, there's going to be live entertainment. There's going to be champagne. There's going to be food, and it's going to be really, really amazing.
Yes,
so
I have to confirm my outfit.
Yes, well, it's something we're still working on.
Yes, we're creating Pinterest boards.
Yes, and we've booked in hair, we've booked in makeup. Yay. I have done that.
Yay.
Which is very exciting.
Yeah,
so
it's going to be so fun.
Which is why we're doing this. We're doing this every Friday night up until the book launch or book launch party.
Totally up to you.
Yeah.
Oh, why stop a good thing? Let's go to Christmas.
You won't be able to stop us. So Jane here, I've given her an exclusive access, an early copy of the manuscript as it is now, and she is going through each chapter a week. You're going through a chapter or one or two a week.
One or two. It's been one or two.
Yeah. To then sort of pick out bits that she might have questions, and then ask about, what did you mean here when you said this, or where do I get a name? And we said last week that Jane's name is finally in the book on page 41. Yeah, so if you're reading,
I highlighted.
Dog tag, page 41. So today we are talking about chapter 4. Chapter 4.
And I was going to read chapter 4 and 5, but I read chapter 4 and thought this is probably enough.
Yes.
Enough for us to talk about. Chapter 4 is called The Being Approach to Habit Change. The Being Approach to Habit Change. So I froth on habits. I've read so many books on habits, and I froth on it. So I was really into this chapter.
Yeah, I actually thought you would have been.
I was really into this chapter.
Yeah.
And you actually mentioned, we good?
Yeah,
that's good.
We're back.
You actually mentioned this book a lot, The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, and I believe I actually recommended this book to you.
I think you might have, Jane.
So I've practically wrote this chapter. I practically wrote the book. I mean, let's be honest. So this, The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, can't even, just read it, promise. But you sort of talk about habits a lot. Now, habits, motherhood. Tell me the connection there. Why did you think it was important to talk about habits in a book about mothering?
Well, I think particularly this book and The Slight Edge, the Slight Edge is about habit change, because everything we do as humans is a habit. It's conscious, and it's because our brain likes to make things easy for us,
Mm-hmm.
and we're really programmed to do things over and over again, and our mind just repeats actions, behaviors, and emotions for good reason, because it doesn't take a lot of energy to do it. It doesn't take a lot of thought to do it. So if you think about how you can brush your teeth, you don't have to consciously put the toothpaste on the brush and clean your teeth. It just sort of happens naturally and quickly. But the flip side of that is it happens naturally and quickly, and we repeat the same thoughts, the same behaviors, the same programs over and over and over again. So if we're wanting to change things, if we're wanting to shift things, we really have to look at our habits that we have and our subconscious behaviors. And what I loved about The Slight Edge and why it was so pivotal for me in this transition from who I was into motherhood was it made it really simple and really empowering. The Slight Edge talks about how the one percenters, and that's sort of what I talk about in my book, is I bring my perspective to what it means by these one percenters. And the one percenters are, if you're wanting to change something, if you're wanting to shift something, you only need to make a 1% change.
Yes.
So if you're wanting to make a change in your relationships, you only have to do one thing, 1% different. That might be getting off my bum and kissing Zach when he walks in the door every night.
Yeah.
But like that's 1% change.
Yeah.
I give an example in this book about butter.
You do love butter.
I love butter. And I was actually thinking about this. I probably should revisit the book because it says I want to change my relationship with butter, but I really don't. I love it too much, and I'm too sad
for
about
health reasons, though, maybe.
But if that was something that I wanted to change, having no butter is just like, you're ridiculous. Like,
who even are you?
Like, that's a joke. Like, come again. You're joking. But if I had 1% less, I could do that. I could do 1% less. I could manage that. Everyone can do 1% less.
Unless it's on a crumpet or something.
Well, there are exceptions to the rule. Hot bit of white toast. Oh, anyway, let's not get in there.
This isn't about butter.
This isn't about butter. But if I just did 1% less, think about that in a year. Each time you just did 1% less. But the trick is it doesn't seem like it's making a difference. Honestly, if I put 1% butter back, it'd be like, it's not even a difference. Which then comes to motherhood, and I realized, oh my goodness, I don't have to do the big grand things to be a great mum. It's all in the 1%. So I could just tell my kids I love them. That's 1%. I could lay on the floor for 2 minutes longer. Like, that's 1%.
Yeah.
And in my relationship, for example, like organizing a date night once a month, once every 2 months, like, amazing, but it's once a month. Or it's once every 2 months.
Yeah.
And when we make it that big and that grand, I've had experiences where I've put lots of expectations on this night.
Yes.
And I've wanted it to go a certain way. I've wanted to feel a certain way. I wanted to do something. It was hard to organize.
Yeah.
I had to organize babysitters. And, sometimes we have a great date night, and I'm not saying that that's not an important thing to do.
Yeah.
But when I think about what has had the biggest impact on my relationship and feeling closer to my husband, it hasn't been the date nights every now and then.
Yeah.
It's been those 1% small things.
Yeah. It's like, going to the gym. What's going to benefit you the most? Going once a month and just slogging yourself, or going 10 minutes every day. Like, what are you going to have more benefit from?
Yes.
Obviously, the 10 minutes every day rather than the massive slog for those of us who go to the gym regularly.
Well, you wouldn't really know about that.
No, I do.
I said you would know.
Yeah,
because you're a fit girl.
I know. I got a bit defensive. So I actually do go.
I know, Jen. I've seen your outfits.
Yes. Had you finished talking about that?
Yeah, I think so. I did. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you thought it was important to include.
Yeah.
Habits,
so do you want to show the book again?
Yeah.
And there's another book, Atomic Habits. So in the back of my book, I actually reference transformational books that I recommend reading.
Like, oh my God, get this, everyone.
Yeah. So if anyone is interested in that, in the feeling of, oh my God, it's not like there's magic in the mundane. That's the message that I'm sort of sending in that, is it's not about those big grand things. And perhaps we're doing better than we think we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. And also you're sort of talking about linking, like, okay, habits. Where do I even start? What do I want to change?
Yeah.
But you were saying it's helpful to think about, who do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to become?
Yeah.
And then you can make habits, like changes to become that person.
Well, we were talking about it today.
I actually
had this conversation
I know.
today.
So you were saying like the language that you can use is, well, in these moments you can say, well, what would a healthy person do?
Yeah.
Or what would
A healthy person would probably put back half the butter that I use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like what would
Beyonce do?
What would Beyonce do? What would my higher self do? Like, and we were having this convo in the car today.
That's so funny.
Saying, what would Jill do?
Yes.
Because Jill is one of our aunties, and you said, oh, I hope I'm as good of an auntie like Jill, because she would always call our mum to say hello. And when we would answer the phone, she would just always just be so interested in you and like just give you so much care and attention. So you find someone like that. You can find someone like that and just say, oh, what would Jill do? Or what would Beyonce do?
Yeah.
Or what would what would your higher self do?
Because it's you.
It's you.
Yeah.
And then you can begin to embed these changes so that it doesn't become what would Jill do? It would become, well, what would I do?
Yeah, what would I do?
Yes. I ended up speaking all of that, but
no, that's good.
But that sort of leads into this next question that I've got is the important, like we're talking those questions that are important to ask yourself, what would I do, etc. And you sort of go on to talk about the importance of our language.
Hi, Kelly. Sorry, she said hello.
The importance of our language. And I remember learning this. Our language becomes our child's inner voice. Like that's huge.
That's huge.
Our voice that we're speaking becomes our child's inner voice. And sometimes even if it's not spoken. Like, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like, I remember reading about a research thing, and if
the body language.
Yes. So like, even, you know, as a mum, if I had a daughter, I don't have a daughter, but if I had a daughter, she would have the same body issues that I would have, even if I never spoke a word.
And even not an issue, just the same opinion or the same perspective of body as you do.
Yeah,
even if you didn't speak
if I
a
never
word.
voiced how I felt about my body, my daughter would have that
positive
same.
or negative. Yes.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about that? Because that's like, holy moly.
Yeah. So I think in this chapter in particular, I like to make it really practical. And I know that I've said it as motherhood, it's almost like wiping the slate clean because nothing in our lives is the same, which is scary, but it's also pretty exciting to think, okay, we get to build ourselves out now from the ground up. We get to create ourselves something new. Think about like this beautiful structure, like this glass crystal statue of a woman, and it breaks and it shatters everywhere. And instead of trying to work so hard on piecing it back together, we get to build a whole new one. We get to create a whole new one. And I think habits are a way that we can actually start to create these building blocks. But then to break it down even further, to think about the language that we use and the power of language and how we can use that. And in particular, and this book isn't about how to parent, it's not about how to mother, but it does relate to how we treat ourselves and how that impacts our children. So the words that we use, for example, and how that sort of affects our children. So, you know, things like, for example, I have to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Like, says who? And instead of using words like have to or need to, we can say things like, I'd like to go to the gym. And then it sort of takes the pressure off ourselves. Sometimes we don't even realize that we're doing it. And I've actually done this for so long now that Zach will correct me if I say something like, oh, I have to clean the kitchen, or I have to go and meditate, or whatever it is. He goes, oh, you'd like to, or you'd really enjoy doing that. And you're right. And it goes, oh, I would enjoy doing that. Like, you're right. I'm doing it for me, for enjoyment. I'm not doing it because I should or because I have to or because there's any pressure on. And it's just little things like that. So I literally think in the chapter I've got a list of common words that we use and ways to replace them. Yeah. And then a suggestion is write down the common concepts that you say out loud and that you do, and catch yourself so that you can replace it. excuse me, like I'm bad at directions is a big one. And I actually say that help me make any changes. It keeps me boxed in.
Yeah.
It keeps me narrow-minded. It keeps me in that mindset. I say it, so I start to believe it, and it's fully ingrained in me. A way that we can start to make the change is simple by changing our language. And I'm not saying that's the only thing, because you can say words and not believe them, and then that's not going to make any change. Like affirmations are useless unless you feel them in your body. So I can be saying, you know, I'm good at directions, I'm good at directions, I'm good at directions. But if my body feels different and I don't start to feel it, then it's not going to make any difference. But it is a leading point into that deeper work. It's sort of almost like step one, stage one,
like saying
changing your language. Yeah.
And like, do you feel if you were to say it often enough, it would start to chip away at that subconscious?
For some people, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like I've experienced both.
Yeah,
the affirmations and like saying and it making it worse because you just feel like you're lying to yourself.
Yeah.
But the other one where you say it often enough that you do start to believe it, and it is the starting point. Yes, it can be the starting point, and it's just changing that language. Yes. Yeah. And so much can influence the language that we use. And you just answered that was going to be my question: is how can we actually put that into our everyday? So just catching ourselves in those moments and changing it or writing them down. That's a good one, because you wouldn't even really realize. You know what? You could probably ask your partner, because they they would know them, because it's just so autopilot to us.
You don't even realize.
So subconscious to us, we wouldn't even know.
God, that'd go down well, wouldn't it?
That's actually interesting. We should do that.
Zach,
maybe we shouldn't.
Can you imagine if I sat down and said, Zach, you need to change X, Y, and Z?
No, I'm saying get him to do it to you.
Yes. Yeah, no.
I could do it for you.
Yeah.
Find the words that you say all the time.
What do you think I say?
I'd have to have a think about it. That's for another day. Okay, so there's one that was sort of habits, and I dropped on habits. And then there's just to sort of you had touched on this other topic within that chapter that I wanted to talk to you about, because you were talking about the importance of play.
Oh yeah, I
found that really really interesting, and I actually related to a lot of what you were saying in there.
Oh, thanks.
Yes. Just talking about how we don't prioritize ourselves being creative or ourselves being playful, because we've just got too much on our to-do list.
Yeah,
and I did like the whole spiral thing, which is again is another topic for another day. But one thing that kept coming up for me was that I need to get back into I would like to get back into my drawing, because I'm an art teacher, but I haven't been practicing art. And because I hadn't been being creative and playful, and that wasn't in my everyday to do, I was feeling I wasn't feeling aligned, and you just sort of feel stuck. And so the best way to feel my best and be my best was to make time to be creative and make time for play. But it's just so easy not to.
Yeah.
Because if I've got a load of washing there, and it's like paint a picture or do the washing, what am I going to choose?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this is interesting. I feel like I'm doing most of the talking in this podcast.
That's okay.
Was that lack of play?
I remember this. Yeah, this
was a research study that you found. A lack of play has been linked to stress, depression, and even criminal behaviour.
Yes.
So
it was a lack of play in kids later in their years. They're more likely to act criminally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oof.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, talk about that.
Yeah. So,
yes, do that.
I think you sort of you're really shining in this episode about your relationship with play. And I think to make it really clear, when we hear play, I think we feel like playing games or like something like that. I think a better word to describe it would be fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Like having
fun,
joy, and like think of something that you just go, oh, that was so fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was so fun.
Mm-hmm.
And creating more of that. But I do talk about how hard that is in motherhood because there's so much to do.
Yeah.
Like there is so much to do. We have to do everything. We manage households, we manage families. We've got little people that depend on us. We need to feed them. We need to bath them. And that is like, and then on top of that, we might be working as well. So it's a lot. It's a lot to try and manage. But I think the importance of it, and we all know the importance of it though. Like we're not stupid. I know we're speaking to very intelligent women out there. It's like it's not a fact of not being smart enough. It's not that we don't know this. Like we know it.
We know it.
It's just about how do we actually do it. It's the actually making time to prioritize ourselves to do it. And you might, I know that at that, when I hear that, sometimes I roll my eyes and go, as if like I've got too much to do. Sorry.
Yeah. But that's when that 1%ers comes in.
That's where the 1%ers come in. And what I do, for example, for the 1%ers, and what gives me energy to do this, instead of if I get 20 minutes, like if the boys are down at the same time or they're watching a movie and I've got time for lunch, my default was to lay on the couch and watch Friends, which was fine. Nothing's wrong with that. But I really checked into myself and go, how do I feel after this?
Yeah.
I don't feel energized and I don't feel refreshed. I wasn't feeling refreshed after it, and I wanted to get up off the couch after the kids had a rest and be refreshed, but I felt more lethargic.
It's not like the activity, it's how you feel.
So instead of that, I just swapped it for reading my book. And I only did half the time. Like I'll sit and watch some Friends, and then for the other 15 minutes I'll read my book. And after reading a book, I felt more energized, and I felt like I had more energy because it was fun. It was a little bit more relaxing. I don't know whether I'd look back and go, that was so fun, but it definitely gave me more energy and more life. So it's not about finding more time in the day. It's about swapping. What's that ad? It's like swap, don't stop.
Oh, I don't know.
Remember? It was like a diabetes ad or like an overweight ad or something that was like swap, don't stop.
Yeah, I like it.
That's sort of what that is. But what doing something fun can do to you and your energy, and if you think about how important your energy is to be around your kids, don't you want to bring that?
Yeah.
Don't you want to bring that to your kids? And I'm sure the answer is yes. So I started guitar, remember?
Yeah.
And I've had, don't roll your eyes because I'm sticking with it.
Okay, yeah.
I've had a couple of lessons here with Brady. All I want to do is learn All Too Well by Taylor Swift. That's it.
Good song. Fair enough.
Yeah, and it's only 4 chords repeated over and over again.
Oh, maybe I'll learn it too then.
Yeah, well, guitar's actually really hard. Yeah. But I have, anyway, so I don't think you could do it. So there's ways in my book to think about. There's reflection questions. I'm sure I've got reflection questions in there about, well, I don't know what's fun. And I don't know what I like anymore, and I don't know how much time I have. So if I think about it, for example, who am I usually with when I have my best time? Who am I with when I laugh the most? It's usually you. So I just go hang out with you. I just go hang out with you guys.
Oh,
do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be learning guitar, and it doesn't have to be something big. Again, it can just be those little 1%ers, like, and make it really easy. Like something that I used to do, like when I was depresso and in bed and everything, I'd try and make it. I try. No, we shouldn't, but it's okay because it's part of my story. Yeah. Things that can be really easy to do. So I would have bookmarked in my phone, like Guilty Dogs, and I would YouTube Guilty Dogs because it's funny on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I would have a different list of activities that made me get up and about, and I would have a different list of activities that would make me feel relaxed. Yeah. So like a cold fizzy would get me up and about, and a warm drink would help me relax. Yeah. So, and I made them really easily and accessible to do. So it could just be funny as watching funny YouTube videos. Like it doesn't have to be massive. And instead of scrolling mindlessly for 10 minutes. Maybe you swap for some funny YouTube videos, or, just something that's like so fun. I'm sure you all have a friend out there who you never speak to, you never go and see, but you send funny memes.
Yeah.
Who's yours? Mine's Rach Finlay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, shout out. We send each other memes. It's really funny.
Oh, hilarious.
Yeah.
That's all it comes back to, those 1%ers, doesn't it?
It does.
And one thing that I did to bring more creativity into my day was bought a tiny little sketchbook and just kept it beside my bed.
Yes, and see, being beside your bed made it easily accessible.
So I'd hop into bed and I actually haven't done this as a good reminder to do it.
Yeah.
Actually should start doing that. It doesn't have to be of anything, just a few doodles because it's right there.
Yes. Yes. And it's not about creating more time to do it, it's swapping. So you could do that for 10 minutes and then you put your TV on.
And exactly. Yeah. Because all this sort of comes down to doing.
Zach's watching. Hey, babe.
He's got a few references.
He's in this one.
He outnumbers me a lot, actually. Not sure how I feel about that. But doing something for joy's sake, rather than necessarily an outcome.
Yes.
You're doing something because it makes you feel good, not because you're going to achieve something or tick something off your list or whatever. I love listening to Look Out 'Cause Here I Come. I just know that brings me so much joy. Whenever I listen
pick
to
your favourite song.
Yeah, and just put it on and dance and on it.
Yeah. You do get off on that song.
I do get off on that song. So I feel like you've already answered this question because it was what do you do to bring yourself joy?
Yes.
You sort of entwined that.
Well, let me tell you a story about the guitar playing. So
do tell.
And part of me wants to keep learning it because you roll your eyes at me thinking that I wouldn't do it. Even Mum said, "Oh, how long will this last?" And I was like, "Fuckers, I'm going to learn to play guitar and be really awesome." But I haven't played for a while. Because there is a stage when you're learning something new where it's too hard and you don't get the enjoyment and you have to push through till you get to the other side of where you can be competent. I'm in the difficult part. But
just put the song on.
Well, that's what I did. Remember, I had All Too Well on the other day and I was like, I'm learning to perform this and I'm going to do this. And so singing brings me joy, even though obviously I'm not that good at it. Singing, putting songs on, learning to play guitar has been, so I need to do that. But again, it's just habits and you get in them. And that's the thing also with this chapter is it's about, you can be all motivated and all inspired to start and then you just sort of dwindle off. And that's where these 1%ers can really help. So my guitar's next to my bed, the pick's beside the bed, and it honestly does feel good to do. So it's just about swapping time to do that. So that's what I do for joy. I got those last time I was home. I got those fairy puzzles, the Shirley Barber fairy puzzles. Mum had them at home, and I was like, oh my god, I'm bringing those home, and I started to do those, and they were really they were only like big chunky pieces.
Don't they just make your imagination run wild?
100%.
Connects you to that little
that little girl again. Yeah. So I love doing those Shirley Barber puzzles. I could get them out again. And I've been playing netball this season, which is just pure for fun. We're in the grand final tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be there.
So shout out to that.
Well, I think that was all that I had that I wanted to talk to you about, and we've done good time. But all about habits and how we can just make small changes and how your language can influence that, and then doing things for joy, just get more joy in there.
Yeah, who doesn't want to have more fun?
Yeah, exactly.
Who doesn't want to have more fun?
Don't hang out with me too much, though.
Don't worry,
that's where I had to draw a line in the sand.
You want to hang out with me just as much as I want to hang out with you.
Don't you? Yeah, of course. Yeah, obviously.
If you had to answer the question, who do you have the most fun with, or think of your funnest memory ever, Am I in it?
Probably.
No, not probably.
Oh, yes, definitely. I think we should end this now because we're sort of going off topic a little bit.